Originally released for Halo 3 ODST, working its way over to Halo Reach, and then ultimately in Halo 5 Guardians, we have Halo Firefight. Finally out for Halo Infinite, which is crazy to me that this game, which has taken so long to culminate and marinate, is finally in a really good place. And I know I say this constantly in every single video that I do, and it's because I really believe it. The Halo you played back at the launch of Halo Infinite is not even remotely close to the Halo experience you're going to get today. And I wish 343 had released this mode we're playing today at launch. Had they done that and eliminated this dopey drip feeding and this nonsensical games as a service model, I think there'd be a lot more people playing it today. But Halo is actually rising on the charts again. It is creating a small splash outside of the diehard Halo community, and that makes me very happy because I love this game. And Firefight King of the Hill, the newest iteration of Firefight, I think is a mode that everybody should check out. Even if you're not really into multiplayer, due to its PvE nature, I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it because I sure know that I did. And today's video is going to be walking you through my experience, talking a little bit about the new repair field, and just giving some overall impressions of this mode. Now, I gotta say, this was the very first time I ever played Firefight. I just went straight in, I opened up OBS, and I recorded exactly what I did. And disappointingly, I die almost instantly, which is really kind of sad. Don't worry, after that, you won't see any more deaths from me until the very end, unfortunately. But I will put on quite a show for you later on, especially when I get the Warthog in a really great defensive position. You'll see that in a little bit, but I don't want to jump too far ahead of myself and give you too many caveats. Halo is back. Firefight is back. This is a ton of fun. So the last time we saw Firefight was during Halo 5 Guardians, and I actually really liked that iteration. Basically, it required you to go around the map and defend various control points. It had the requisition system in place with it. It was actually really cool. And what the requisition system did was allowed you to call in different weapons and vehicles to help you in your battle. This mode is different. Obviously, the requisition system has come, the requisition system has gone, and you are left with this sandbox that is currently Halo 5 Infinite. And I think it's pretty generous. They've definitely done a really good part of kind of giving you some good starting weapons, and then the battlefield will be littered with more weapons as you get these weapon drops. Obviously, you can pick up weapons from enemies, and you're able to proceed that way. I'll be really curious to see as this game mode evolves if they change a little bit of some of the gating, maybe giving some more power weapons. That was something that Halo 5 Guardians did very well, if you recall. Throughout the entire mode, there was kind of this universal meter ticking in the background, and as you progressed by killing more and more enemies and proceeding up the waves, you unlock the ability to unlock bigger and better requisitions. Ultimately, by the end, being able to pull in full Scorpion tanks and really heavy-duty weapons, and that made the end of the game feel much more monumental and epic than at the beginning. Here, unfortunately, with the way the sandbox is laid out and with the elimination of the requisition system instead, what you're really just treated to is kind of more of the same, although the enemies do get incredibly and increasingly more difficult as time goes on. So I'll be curious to see if that evolution changes. I suspect it will. I suspect you'll see a mode of this where you only have heavy weapons. I suspect you'll see a mode of this with like a Super Fiesta or Fiesta type rule set with more stuff to add as time goes on. But from like a Gen 1, Day 1, I mean, this literally launched like 10 minutes ago. I opened it, immediately played a game, and immediately recorded this video. As of that day and that time, I can say that this core mode is freaking awesome. And I absolutely love what they did with this. And the way that the level was designed, really the objective was designed, and the way the enemies come at you was very smart. So because you make it a King of the Hill mode, you naturally force players to have to fight, the AI now has a path to go on. And while there are a few little bugs here and there where the AI gets confused and you have to go basically hunt the map and find them, a couple times the AI will, just kind of run in the zone and then immediately run out because they're tethered or targeting onto another enemy. For the most part, this works incredibly well because you're going to be fighting off with 3 of your closest Spartans in just insane wave after wave of enemies with grenades and weapons and everything flying all over the map, and it is a ton of fun. I can't wait to play this with my friends, and I hope that my friends play this with me. They're not big Halo people, but hopefully this may swing them back because this is such a cool experience, and I had such a blast playing it. Now, a couple things they did which make this mode a lot more fun than previous modes is you are once again treated to an infinite grapple shot, which I know this sounds like such a very simple idea, is honestly one of the best ideas that they could come up with. It allows for insane traversal across the map. I am very sure you're going to be able to use this in different and creative ways. It didn't even dawn on me until I'm watching this replay back. I might have been able to grapple shop up to that enemy ship and throw grenades in before they even jumped out, which would have been really, really cool. But it allows you to traverse the map quickly, run across the map to grab power-ups and come flying back, or also do some really cool grapple attacks, just like you did in single player, to kind of thin out the enemies, because ammunition will become scarce as this goes on. And while you do start with your trusty battle rifle and your Evo rifle, with your assault rifle and Evo bandit gun, you're going to run out of ammo very quickly. And you're going to have to start kind of picking up other things. Now, whether that means you want to go and just hunt power weapons, whether that means you want to be just locked into a vehicle, or like me running around with this turret, which I think I eventually throw down because it was just so cumbersome. You're going to kind of be limited in what you can find. So you kind of have to scavenge a little bit. You're going to be to the point where like you're shooting a weapon and you don't even reload it. You're just throwing it down and picking up another weapon and shooting again. Unless you're like me and you were able to get inside a vehicle, which is really, really cool. So I like that this game kind of forces you to really, really dive deep into the sandbox. Like, I can't imagine, honestly, people would normally be using the loadout I have, but it works for area denial, which is kind of what we need right now, especially when you get tucked into the corner of a map like I did here, and you want to, kind of spam some AoE goodness for everybody to kind of, take a little bit of damage. That's really, really good. As the maps progress, like I said, there's a couple rounds here. Each round will come with more difficult enemies. Every round will always culminate in a kind of boss battle of sorts. And the boss battle will basically be a named enemy that has a significantly larger health bar that takes a little bit more coordination to drop. The fact that the enemies that you're facing here are kind of spread out, they do come from different directions and in different clumps, I think was a lot of fun. It really, like I said, kind of helps out, I think, a lot with kind of how the sandbox is played out, because you're going to have naturally grunts hiding behind jackals, hiding behind hunters. You're going to have a lot of variants to play with, and then you start getting into the harder levels, where you're kind of facing wave after wave of the charging brutes and a lot of the bigger banished enemy types, and you're going to have to kind of rely on that more AoE kind of firepower because it's just too much. You're kind of just pushing bullets in a direction, and I love that. I thought that was a really, really cool idea, and that's a lot of fun. Most of the maps include something like this, which is these kind of nice little areas, which aren't new by any stretch of the imagination, but include the new upgrade, the field repair, which the field kit, it's really, really cool how it works. And I'm actually going to use it twice. The first time is right here. Basically, you throw this device down on the ground, and anybody within the radius, as it kind of pulses out, I think maybe like 3 or 4 times, anybody within that radius will get healed up. And this does include vehicles, which is really, really, really important, because the nice thing is, if you're kind of taking a lot of damage, it allows you to do a little more tanking than you may normally have done. The way I was using it just a moment ago, I was basically shooting a cinder shot at point blank range, which really probably should have hurt me more than it did. But because I have had that repair constantly going on, I was able to kind of tank that damage, which was awesome, which allowed me to continue to just lay down fire, which I really, really liked. So there's some good utilization of that. You can actually also throw that on a vehicle. So if you want to do like a drive-by healing, and I'm not talking just about in this particular mode, most of the time everybody's going to be clumped together in a ball, which isn't really going to be much of a problem. But if you were playing multiplayer, I could absolutely see getting on the repair field and doing kind of like the Paul Revere midnight run, where you're just running through the battlefield, just healing everybody on like a mongoose, which just sounds like it's a really funny thing to do, but may turn the tide of war. And that's what I love, because the way the sandbox is finally coming together with the amount of weapons and the amount of vehicles and enemies that you're going to be facing off against, you're going to find a lot of different uses for these weapons in a different way than I did, for sure. And you're going to need that because, like I said, this does get harder. One of the other nice things is because of the kind of geometry of the map and kind of how the map is generally laid out, you're not always going to be in the best place to hold a good defensive position. Like here, we're under a balcony kind of out in the open. And again, these points are random. It's King of the Hill. It's wherever the game wants you to kind of go to defend. But we were fighting enemies above us on the balcony as they were pouring down over the top like a waterfall, which was pretty cool, while we were still getting pushed from two separate directions. So that's really a lot of fun that the game kind of, because of that terrain, it kind of forces you to have a little different defense, and I really appreciate that. Now, as I said, as the waves progress and the enemies get harder, ammo gets a little bit more scarce. You might have to be a little bit more creative in your engagements. That's where the grappling hook comes in handy, and that's definitely where the vehicles come in handy. So on my particular, this is the first time I played, I was like, hey, you know what? Somebody brought over this Warthog, and this thing is in rough shape. It's smoking. It's definitely not in a good place, but it's kind of nestled in against this rock wall, which plays well to kind of some of the defense. Still allows me to kind of shoot up over the top of the rock wall as the enemies are getting a little bit closer, but also gave me a really good line of sight kind of farther on down towards that giant fan that is sitting there. But, you know, I just can't do it alone, obviously, and even with this is just a quick match, so I wasn't able to communicate with any of these other people, but, you know, very quickly getting pushed kind of off that objective, and, you know, getting pushed off that objective and trying to have to, like, fight my way back to the Warthog. It's in a lot worse shape now. We got suicidal grunts running by. I jump off a few times because I think this thing is going to blow, and I mean, it is, like, probably like one damage away from being destroyed. The tires are blown off, this thing's smoking horribly, and that's what leads us into this kind of final confrontation. But I see the repair field sitting over there, and it makes me think, hey, you know what? I'm going to see if I can get this Warthog repaired up again, and I'm just going to lay siege down, and it's kind of like our last stand. This is the fifth and final wave, and, you know, why not? Let's see if I can do it. So my teammates are over there, obviously. The announcer has announced the kind of final stage of, you know, the level. Everybody's running over into position, and then you got me kind of being a dork. But it's going to work out well, you'll see. Throw the repair vehicle on here, and instantly the Warthog is fixed. All the tires are back, full durability, full health, ready to rock and roll. I'm going to park this thing in the back corner of the map. Hopefully, I was thinking at this time nobody's going to spawn like behind me, so I'm safe. That was not true. And I am just going to absolutely annihilate things. Now, as with every type of firefight, they do get harder, not just because of the enemies, but you'll notice in the upper left that there are some skulls that come into play. These are totally random. These are modifications you'll get, whether you can or can't see the map, what kind of enemies you're going to face, how aggressive they are, what they use a lot of explosives, that sort of thing. So every mode is going to be different. It's totally random what set of skulls you're going to draw and how easy or hard it's going to be. If you do get good enough at this mode, there is a heroic firefight mode, which I would love to try later, but you're going to definitely need to communicate with your team then. I think right now just sticking to the basic firefight mode for me is fine. I think if I can get my friends on comms and we can all work together collectively as a team, maybe we'll be a little bit more damaging at that point. But for now, just playing with randoms and just kind of soaking in the firefight experience and grinding out the weekly objectives and such doesn't really seem like it makes sense right now for me personally. But as you can see, that bay does open up. I'm constantly getting sniped now from both sides, How I don't just get completely eliminated and destroyed numerous times is beyond me. But as the enemies pour in over the top, which is really cool, they don't just basically walk in or teleport in like they used to in kind of the old Halo. They're dynamically using parts of the map, the ramps, the floors, the elevators, that sort of thing, as they kind of pour in from all these different directions. You know, still holding the line with this Warthog, racking up tons and tons of kills. And I don't know if I don't know what the highest one I got, Kilimanjaro. I wasn't sure, but it was frantic. But as I wrap up this video, and you'll see, unfortunately, how it ends, I want to say that this is just so great, and I'm so happy that Halo has brought this mode back. I think a lot of people who like the more PvE experience that Halo 4's post-game content included, you know, those Spartan Ops, I think this is kind of a nice kind of tribute back to that in a sense. And I'm hoping that people who kind of put this game away are willing to try it again, especially with this new game mode. So at the very end, the final boss, unbeknownst to me, was cloaked. And I couldn't figure out what was going on until it was too late. But you can hear all these different kind of voices and grunting and huffing. And there he is right there. I didn't even pay attention. I'm just sitting on my turret, just shooting away. And all I had to do was stay on and probably shoot him to win. Instead, I get off to res a teammate, get knifed in the back, and due to a wipe, we all died. And despite our best efforts, the Banished reigned supreme. And that was it. And we're going to have to do it again. But tons of experience, tons of fun, great way to grind up levels, great way to have some fun with your friends. This is an amazing mode. I haven't even talked about all the other stuff that this update included. I focused so much on Firefight, King of the Hill, and the repair field, but there's a lot of other good stuff in here that I think people are going to be interested in terms of quality and networking and stability and all that stuff. I'll probably cover that in another video at some point as I kind of work through the rest of, you know, this season. But wow, what a gem. Thank you, 343. I never thought I'd be saying that. This mode totally rocks. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.